Hey guys. Yeah, again, thank you, Frank and Ed, for bringing along your friends to hear our plea for help and support as we endeavor to advance God's kingdom together. Um, just a quick intro. This is my family. We have Noah and Aurora Lee, who are 3 years old. My wife is Eleanor, and she's from Italy. We have an intercultural family trying to plant an intercultural church. I myself am employed by a missions agents organization called Surge, based in Philadelphia, and they have a sister organization here who are my employers. I'm also ordained in the IPC. I hear that you guys are going to be meeting some IPC people. Those guys are from the English Presbytery, I'm assuming. I'm the only one that speaks fluent English in the Korean Presbytery. There's a lot of 4 presbyteries in the IPC, and I belong in one of those. Oh, IPC is the International Presbyterian Churches. Yeah. There's people in Scotland as well as in England that represent IPC. And our family and our team are leading a church plant together, and it's 2.5 months old in a place called Kingston. But before I go on, let me quickly share a parable story to help you better understand what kind of church plant we're envisioning. The giraffe and hippo parable. Anybody heard of this parable before? Once in a distant savannah, there lived a tall, slender giraffe and a big, friendly hippo. The giraffe and the hippo were good friends, enjoying each other's company whenever they could. But one day, the giraffe, proud of its home, invited the hippo over for a visit. The giraffe's home was designed for its long legs and tall neck, with high ceilings, narrow doorways, and furniture placed far off the ground. It was a space that worked perfectly for the giraffe. The hippo, always happy to visit a friend, accepted the invitation. But when it arrived at the giraffe's house, it quickly encountered a problem. The narrow doorway wasn't built for the hippo's broad, sturdy frame, and no matter how much it squeezed and wriggled, getting through was a struggle. Eventually, the hippo made it inside, but once there, it faced another challenge. The furniture was all too tall. The counters were out of reach, and the hippo tried to fit in, but couldn't, of course. He couldn't find a way to feel comfortable in the giraffe's place. Noticing the hippo's discomfort, the giraffe offered some well-meaning advice. Why don't you just stretch up a little taller, like me? Come on, do a little bit. That way you can reach everything. And so the hippo gave it a try. Even though it tried standing on its tiptoes and stretching as far as it could, it was not useful. No matter how hard the hippo tried, the house simply wasn't designed for it. Despite the giraffe's friendly welcome, the hippo started to feel awkward and out of place, and eventually it decided it was easier not to visit at all. The giraffe, meanwhile, couldn't understand why its friend didn't come around anymore. It thought it had been a good host, but it could not see that the house, though perfect for a giraffe, was not suitable for a hippo. Now, this story, guys, reflects a reality many people face, especially in diverse communities like London. The giraffe and the hippo represent individuals from different cultures trying to fit in and share the same space, just as people from various backgrounds often try to participate in the same church community. The giraffe's home, like many churches, was built in certain traditions and practices that fit its needs perfectly. For the giraffe, the tall ceilings and narrow doorways felt natural, much like how certain cultural practices in a church can feel normal and natural for some as well. But for someone like the hippo, coming from a different background, the space didn't fit at all. It didn't matter how hard the hippo tried to adapt. It couldn't change its shape to fit into a space that wasn't originally designed with that person in mind. This is how many people feel when they attend churches or communities that are rooted in a specific culture that's not their own. They might feel like they don't fit, even when everyone around them is really friendly and welcoming. And that's been my own experience as well, both in a Korean church and British churches too, even though I'm a British Korean. Quick introduction of who I am that will help you understand the vision of our church as well. I'm originally from South Korea. I came here to London when I was 3 years old. My family, parents were not Christian. My dad was able to land a job in Samsung because he was able to speak English. Back when Samsung wasn't very big, and back when Korea wasn't even on the map. And so coming with my mum not speaking any English, my mum was looking for a community that was familiar. She was a hippo, looking for other hippos. And she found that in a Korean IPC church. And that's how my family started to go to church. But for me, I was, from the get-go, I was being formed into this stereotypical second-gen British Korean. British in my daytimes and weekdays, and Korean in my weekends and evenings, because my parents would be speaking Korean, and Korean church on Sundays, Korean school on Saturdays. But everything like media, education, friends, all of them speaking English. So you can imagine a little boy growing up with English as his mother tongue, going into a first-gen Korean church, lost in translation. Everything that was being taught, everything that was being preached, every song that was being sung, just, I don't know, what's going on? I understood that there was God. By God's grace, I always believed that there was God. I was taught that there was Jesus, and that being a Christian you're supposed to be a good person. That's all I understood. The gospel, if it was preached, went over my head. The songs that were sung, they were American songs translated into Korean. And so you can imagine there's comfortable English social language, and then there's Christianese language, right? Where that's being sung as well. And so I'm doing karaoke on Sundays. I don't know what I'm singing. I know how to read and write in melody, but I don't know there's nothing going on here. It's just really hard trying to follow with the tempo. And so that was pretty much my church experience. Not much discipleship going on in the church because it was all done in Korean, obviously. The cultural and linguistic barriers prevented me from growing and maturing. And my parents were young Christians themselves, so they didn't know how to disciple either. And it's only when in my 20s we went to a mission trip to Athens in Greece that I met a white American missionary who spoke better Korean than myself and any of my friends. And we were so fascinated just because there was a white person that spoke Korean. But also, it was an opportunity for us for the first time to talk about Christian stuff, church, Bible stuff, and having a response that is accommodating and catering to our needs. And so, long story short, went to Korea for holiday after meeting this guy, went to his church, and I was invited to a church that was, unbeknownst to me, full of Korean Americans and Korean Canadians. And it was a church for the first time that I felt like home, that this is my community. This is what, if there is such a thing as community and church, this is what it could feel like. People, everybody looked like me. But not only that, they spoke like me. They joked like me. There was no like translation going on, cultural translation going on. Even though they were American and I was British, there was this thing, now that I know, this third culture that helped us to just demonstrate forbearance with one another and understanding that I'm lost, you're lost, we're lost. And so we're friends. We just understand. We don't have to tiptoe around each other. There was this unity that was formed naturally. Skipping a few more years later, God planted a passion in me for cultivating a community, a church community, specifically for people such as myself, British Koreans, who are kind of stuck in a Korean church, but unable to hear the gospel because of the limitations that the churches have. And so I wanted to explore, how do I do this? My elders in the Korean church recognized and accepted that this is something that Oong is being called to. And so they financially, prayerfully supported me through seminary, and that's where I met my wife. And straight after graduation, met a Serge missionary who was 1 year into planting a church in a place called Shepherd's Bush, central London. And he, white American, was married to a Kenyan with teenagers who were representing myself. I just knew that this guy was a person that I would benefit from shadowing and learning from. And so that's where I entered into church planting world, support raising world, missionary world, and Serge world as well. And yeah, so through these experiences, I grew in experience of church planting, of urban ministry, multicultural ministry as well. And my original heart for ministry, which was British Koreans, evolved after experiencing London, evolved into British anyone's. I understood and was convicted that this problem that I'm experiencing is not just a Korean thing. It's an ethnic minority problem where the next generation of people are struggling, just as I had, struggling to fit into where do I belong? Where is my church? Where is my spiritual family? And so through this, we started dreaming about planting a church which is called Home Church. And it's a small expression of what God's doing in London. As Neil said, I do believe, and I agree with him, in the past there were UK missionaries that had been sent out into the world, and now the world has come to, and it's not just in the UK, but specifically in London, nations, 270 nations reside in this city. And God ordained a season where the first generation of the nations, they planted and they established churches according to their cultural needs. But now I believe is the baton-changing season where their children, such as myself, are being called to lead, pastor, and plant as well. But there's not too much empowerment and resourcing and supporting happening. And so if London's diverse lost are to be preached, to be reached, we need to cultivate a community that would accommodate, equip people such as myself, because these people have not just Korean friends, their friendship circles, their neighbors are diverse. And if we're called to, so for example, if I was still in the Korean church and I was called to minister to my diverse friends, not only is it hard for them to step into a church building, It's so difficult to accommodate, to feel at home in a Korean setting as well. And that is going on not in just Korean churches, but other ethnic minority churches as well. Now, just quick illustration of where we're at. That black spot over there, that's where our church is, and that's where you guys are. This is my team, Serge team. They're from South Carolina. I worked with them 10 years ago in the original church plant that I shared with you. And they came back and formed a team with me last October. And this is our core group so far, a mixture of Nigerian, Italian, St. Lucia, and Korean. And we've added an English person as well. And this was our first baptism service, which was held before our soft launch. Now, here are some stats to help you add some splashes of color to what Kingston is like, the place where we're planting. Kingston is a predominantly suburban area with a mix of families, young professionals, and students, thanks to the presence of Kingston University. The population is primarily white British, but there is also a growing diversity with communities from South Asia, Eastern Europe, and East Asia. Kingston is known for its young families and high concentration of children and teenagers. It's also a very key commuter town too. Kingston's family-oriented nature, presence of students, and increasing cultural diversity present opportunities to cultivate an intercultural and multi-generational church. The latest census tells us that the population in Kingston is around 168,000 people. 66% were born in England, and the highest of those that were born outside of England are represented by Europe, Middle East, and Asia. 60% speak the same main language in the same household, so you can imagine regular moments of lost in translation, even in one home. 80% speak English, and the next popular language being Tamil, Korean, and Arabic. 49% of Kingston households are characterized by more than one ethnic heritage. That's half of Kingston. 43% of Kingston is supposedly Christian. It was 53% 10 years ago. But a more detailed report actually showed that only 6% of the UK population could be described as practicing Christians. Those 43% tick the Christian box because they are Christian because they go to church twice a year. Or they were baptized once. My parents are Christian, therefore I'm Christian. Those people are the ones that represent 43%. So actually, really the number is lower than the census says. 34% ticked the no religion box. It was 26% 10 years ago. So yeah, Christianity's gone down, non-religious has gone up. 67% of households are multi-religious. In other words, 33% share the same religion in one household. Only 33%, indicating a very diverse makeup of households. The current church scene offers little in the way of witness to the Reformed tradition. There are about 14 churches in the area of Kingston. Half of them are Church of England, and of the 14, Home Church is only 2 churches with Reformed convictions which preach in an expository manner. The need for a Presbyterian church to be planted in Kingston is clear and obvious, to me anyway. Now, how to cultivate an intercultural church? There are 2 things that I'm convinced. Studies have shown that diverse teams outperform homogeneous ones, bringing a wider range of perspectives, ideas, and experiences to the table. It's my conviction that leadership representation will heavily impact the people we hope to draw in. Through the power and outworking of the gospel, intentional intercultural transformation is needed. If the church is supposed to be the visible representation of the invisible kingdom, and if it doesn't have the diversity of leadership that we expect in a reflection of heaven painted for us in Revelation chapter 7, then those outside the church will look to other places to find welcome and belonging. Home church so far, the family, they have formed a team with us. Our soft launch began in September 2025, a season in which we're gathered for weekly low-key worship, considering the vision and core values we've adopted, regularly discussing and tweaking the beta testing season. Highlights so far, so we're worshiping in a Korean IPC church, the church that I grew up in, and they've been very supportive of our work, and our ministry fits well with the gospel mission that both churches are pursuing. We found an effective outreach activity that will become a regular part of our ministry. Prayers would be appreciated for more creativity, because this activity we've seen draws in a lot of 23 and under and groups, but those that are older, they're a bit more grumpy and they just pass us through. God has sent us a gifted British Korean musician who will also be under care in the IPC to be a teaching elder. His wife is gifted in social media managing as well. A friend from GEM, Greater Europe Mission, has helped us with our branding, including our logo, our website, social media templates. Apparently, it would have cost us $8,000. So thank you, Jesus, for that provision. A surge apprentice from our organization from Philadelphia is set to arrive later in February to serve with us for 2 years. Our goal is to publicly launch in January 2026. So a lot of prayer is appreciated. A lot it needs to be done. So thank you for listening.